What is up? Welcome to the video. This one's going to be a little bit different. I honestly didn't feel like sharing a day with you. So for some reason, this came into my head. I wanted to ask Claude because I did this with Chat GPT a long time ago, and I came up with some very interesting self-reflective answers. So I'm gonna do this with Claude now. And the prompt is, ask me 5 questions that make me self-reflect and to know myself better, and then ask each question individually and wait till I type in okay to answer or to ask the next one. So what I'm gonna do is enter this prompt. The first question is gonna pop up. I screen record it so you can see the question. I'm going to answer it and then we'll go on to the next question. So let's get started. And the first question is, let's dive in. I love it, Claude. If you could remove one recurrent thought or belief you have about yourself, one that quietly holds you back, what would it be and where do you think it came from? Definitely the thought that comes into my head pretty often is, am I good enough, or am I going to be able to show up, I guess is a word, or I guess the doubt is self-doubt. I do question my abilities a lot, and I think that's just normal as a human being and someone who is trying to push themselves to be better. It's when I go to that next step, or when I work with a bigger client, or when I charge something more, is, am I actually going to be able to deliver what I promise and execute in a way that is appropriate? And I always hear that you always fall back to your standards and never rise to the occasion. So whenever I do level up, I guess, I doubt that my standards are going to be good enough to be at that level. So that was one part of the question. One that quietly, definitely, I don't think it holds me back. I mean, I guess it does. I guess it does hold me back because sometimes sometimes I play it safe rather than doing what I know is best, especially in my work at the studio, because it's not my name going on the video product, it's someone else's name, and I don't want my risk to make the studio's name look bad. So I definitely feel like in some situations that self-doubt and holding back literally holds the video back from being something that it could be better. When it comes to my work, the self-doubt, I think self-doubt does hold me back because I hold back from doing things that I know I'm supposed to be doing, as far as, for example, lead generation. Sometimes I don't go into a lot of lead generation because, number one, I don't want to piss anyone off, and number two, I feel like I won't be able to deliver on the things that I promise people, or I don't want to give them a certain expectation and falling short of that expectation. But that goes back to just clear communication. So yeah, hopefully I answered that question thoroughly. Where do you think it came from? Where do I think it came from? It definitely came from growing up. And I'm not, blaming anyone, but I think this is just how my father works, is whenever I did something, there's always, it could be better, there's always something wrong, or there's always nitpicks at the things I did, and it never felt good enough. So whenever I try to do something that voice in my head of, is this good enough? Are you going to be able to, again, meet expectations? And I think it came from always trying to meet an expectation that would never be enough from that, which is also a good thing because I have very high standards of myself now, and it kind of pushed me to be kind of this perfectionist growing up. And I did in that, well, I guess it didn't, because I've always tried to like make things perfect, and that has held me back from trying a lot of things because I was afraid I'm going to mess up or not do it correctly, or give something my all because I'm scared I'm going to fall short, I guess, if that makes sense. But it stemmed from growing up, my dad always nitpicking at everything I did, and this idea that it could be perfect or it could be better. And he always said, if you don't do it right, don't do it at all. So again, that goes into the self-doubt, is am I going to do this right? And if not, then I'm not going to do it at all. I'm not going to do it at all. But his definition of right is perfection, and nothing is perfect. So that's something I've had to overcome a lot, and I think I'm getting better at it for sure. Especially something with this video, it's not a perfect video. I'd rather stay consistent rather than being perfect. So here's a step in the right direction, and this idea itself isn't perfect, so there's another step in the right direction. Okay, let's go on to the next question. I'm going to try to keep these answers pretty short. That was a pretty lengthy one. It's a 7-minute clip, so I'm going to kind of make these a little bit shorter. Okay. I'm kind of nervous about these questions too. Okay, question number 2. When you imagine the version of yourself you're working towards, what's the feeling you're chasing, not the achievement? That's a pretty easy one. I think the feeling I am chasing is just being good enough, being useful to society. Again, it goes back to just never being enough and nothing ever being good enough. So I'd love to feel good enough for people and for myself. And that's something I've definitely been working on with my relationship with God and Jesus. Is he doesn't call the qualified, he always qualifies the people who are willing to trust in him and take the first step. So I'm okay with not being qualified because I'm taking the first step and I'm moving toward being a better person and walking closer with Jesus. So yeah, that's the feeling I'm really chasing, is the feeling good enough, and I don't know really how to expand on that. Yeah, just good enough. Okay. When was the last time you did something purely for yourself, not for how it looked, not for where it was going, and how often does that actually happen? You know what, Claude? That is a great question. I don't know. Purely for myself. I guess playing basketball was purely for myself, but you can cancel that out because I recorded and I got content with it. So not for how it looked, not for where it was going. Yeah, I mean, I guess playing basketball. Um, I really don't do anything that's just for me. I guess this, but I mean, this is still for someone. This is still for a version of me out there, or a younger version of me out there that, was struggling with the same things I struggled. And I guess that is for something or someone. Yeah, I don't know. I think I need to find more things to do that's just for me. Um, I would say one of those things is playing basketball, but there's not really a gym near here where I live. There's not really anything here where I live. It used to be working out, but yeah, I think I'm gonna ask Claude to expand on this question. Always use good manners, please. He's doing a lot of thinking. I like that. Did I just break Claude? Here we go. We spend a lot of time doing things with an outcome in mind, building the brand, hitting the gym for the physique, creating content for the audience. Yep, check all those boxes. There's nothing wrong with that, but it can quietly crowd out the things you do just because you genuinely enjoy them, with no audience, no ROI, no story to tell later. So think about this honestly. Is there something you used to love that you've let go of because it didn't fit into who you're becoming? And when you do something just for you, no documentation, no growth angles, no one watching, does that feel freeing, or does it actually feel a little uncomfortable, like you're wasting time? What does that tell you about your relationship with yourself versus your relationship with your image? So I guess the question is asking, when's the last time you did something that wasn't for an outcome, personal growth, an objective, just for the sake of doing something for the fun of it? And my answer, to make this short, is play basketball. But again, no, I would say play basketball because I just happened to record, I went out there on a whim because I wanted to play basketball. So yeah, that's my answer, play basketball. Okay, question 4. Who in your life tells you things you don't want to hear? If you can't think of anyone, what does that say about the people you've kept close? That I don't want to hear. I don't really know. Don't really know. I also don't have a lot of people that oh yeah, I guess. I think the closest thing would be my girlfriend, but I can't really think of a situation to where she has told me something that I haven't caught myself beforehand. Like there's this instance where I pitched a guy some video services that was kind of in a gray area of working with another company, and I shouldn't have done that, but I knew that afterwards. I was kind of intoxicated at the time, so definitely she said something for sure, but I caught that beforehand, so I don't think that counts. That's a tough question because I feel like I'm open to everything, you know? I can admit when I fall short. Whenever people do criticize me, I try my best to take it in, you know, really analyze, number one, where that criticism came from, and number two, if there's any validity in the criticism. So yeah. All right, last question. If the people who knew you best, not your followers, not your clients, but the people who've seen you at your worst, wrote one honest paragraph about who you really are, what do you think it would say, and how different would that be from how you describe yourself? I think the only people who has been with me through my worst would be my parents and my sister. And I would think if they were to write a paragraph about me, they would write stubborn. They would write stubborn again. They would write consistent and hardworking. They would write, what else? Selfish in a way. They would write I'm trying to think of the times, or the time when I lost everything and I moved back in with my parents, and that was honestly the worst time in my life, where number one, I felt the worst about myself. Let's see, wrote one honest paragraph, who you really are, what do you think it would say? Yeah, I think they were just going about how stubborn I am and how I refuse to do things that I don't think is right, and or they would write, yeah, honestly, just stubborn. And I would say that's pretty accurate. I would say the same thing about myself too. And I think that's also a blessing and a curse. A blessing is, okay, so I think my stubbornness wasn't backed up with my dedication of my decisions. So I wanted it to work how I wanted to do it, if that makes sense. Or I wanted to do it how I wanted to do it. I wanted to get there how I wanted to get there, wherever there is, you know. But I wanted to do it my way, and that's fine, you know. But my discipline and my consistency never backed that up, so I just kind of, excuse my language, just sounded like an asshole. Like, no, I refuse to do it that way. And then just not back it up with any action. So I guess you can say immature is the word. Very immature. And knowing that egotistical, that's what they would probably say. And I would definitely agree with them. And I would say still currently egotistical, but conscious that I'm egotistical and can be very stubborn. So I'd like to not pick and choose, but be conscious of that's how I am. But I think there's two ways to go about this. You can be egotistical and stubborn and not have any action or results to back it up, and then you're just what's the word? Like, we all know that guy that just kind of talks and doesn't really back it up, but he kind of thinks his poop don't stink, you know? But we also know the guy that talks his talk and backs it up, and I think I'm getting kind of closer to having everything being backed up, you know? So yeah, let me wrap this question up. They would say stubborn, selfish, egotistical, inconsistent. Well, no, because no. I think they would say I'm hardworking, because during that time I was still waking up at 4 a.m., still going to the gym at 5 a.m. I was literally, the whole time I was there, I would say the whole time I was there, minus a month and a half when I first started there, because I just couldn't. I was literally just, I took a second, you know, like I took a second to kind of, I don't know if that was like a bout of depression, but I just didn't want to do anything. So there was about a month where I was just literally going to the gym. I think I was just getting used to all of it. I was letting it all sink in. I was going to the gym in the morning and kind of just putzing around the rest of the day for about a month and a half. And then I got a job. And then I worked at that job. And then about 90 days later, I signed up to be a realtor, and then I started to do all the real estate stuff. So I was waking up at 4 a.m. I was studying I would either study or go to the gym. After that, study. So if I go to the gym first thing in the morning, I'm studying after that. And if I'm studying first thing in the morning, I'm going to the gym after that. So either study or go to the gym before work, go to work, study a little bit more, eat, and go to bed. And I did that, you know, throughout the week, minus weekends where I wasn't working. So I was working like I am now, you know, 12-ish hours a day, right? And then I got my real estate license, and then there's about 2 or 3 months where I would do the same thing. So wake up, go to the gym, work on my real estate stuff, try to find houses to film, schedule open houses, do cold calls. I didn't cold call a lot, you know, but I did do some. Do cold calls, and then started doing the video stuff for real estate. So it would be wake up, edit real estate videos, go to work, come back home, finish videos. And then I bought the camera. So it was still, again, it was, instead of real estate videos, I would wake up. That's so funny, because after I got my camera, I didn't do any real estate videos. I did one for like a home for a new construction, but I didn't end up finishing that, honestly, because I was out there just as a favor. So I got the camera. I was making gym videos. I was making lifestyle content. And then I got my first client with video. So still working 12 to 14 hours a day, waking up, going to the gym, editing videos for my client, and then going to work and then editing some more. So I think it has been a progression of discipline and consistency, but now, and during the time I was working 14 hours a day, give or take a couple hours an hour, they would say I was hardworking, and I was taking Muay Thai classes once a week too, so I was there. So yeah, now they would say I'm hardworking and disciplined, a lot less selfish. I think now they would definitely say I'm a lot less selfish and a lot less. They would say I'm still equally as stubborn, but I don't know. I hope you liked the video. My battery's about to run out, so I'm gonna close it up really quick. I hope you are living a life that you enjoy, and I hope you are doing things that you want to do. Peace.